5 minutes. Some housekeeping. Please mute yourself so that background noise around your area does not affect the audio for everyone else.
Sorry, Shola, we can hardly hear you, and there's a bit of, I don't know, wavy kind of sounds.
Around me, okay.
Yeah. I think it's because you're using your headphones, actually.
Maybe it will be better without my headphones.
Maybe.
How is it? Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Introductions, my name is Shola Akitunde. I'm on the board of Open House Lagos. And we're very excited to be having our 5th edition. And the first virtual one, fully virtual one. Over the years, we've been discussing, let's have some virtual experience. And one way or the other, we've been finding it difficult. But for this year, we've had to take the plunge. I like to say that COVID-19 was the beginning of the digital revolution, because everyone loves to use Zoom now. Even the people who typically wouldn't use a smartphone asking, "Are you on Zoom?" I happen to work with a lot of older people, and they're asking me about Zoom and Zoom IDs and stuff, and it's funny. But today, at this moment, we're about to have a panel discussion with some notable and young architectural photographers in Lagos, or who've done a lot of work in Lagos. And we just want to, because specifically it's a burgeoning industry, I don't think we've had Nigeria as a country, Lagos as a state, and Africa as a whole has not had too many professional architectural photographers in the past, I would say 10 years. The profession is rising, and we've been able to select 5 people who have come on Open House Lagos tours and have contributed their skills to promoting the architectural festival, that we've tried to do over the last 5 years. And they're here with us, and we just want to have a conversation to find out how they work, what goes through their minds, and see, what we hope as Open House Lagos is that somebody, would listen to these guys, learn from them, and become the next generation, of architectural photographers, to I guess, do new work. So we'll go straight into it. I'll just call on the panelists according to what's on my screen so that they can start by introducing and then we go ahead with the discussion. Let's start with Olajide Ayeni, who's Jide_Yemi. You have to mute yourself, Olajide.
I'm sorry. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me, Shola, and the open house. So, my name is Ayeni Olajide, photographer, background in architecture, interested in documenting buildings and the relationship they have, the built environment, photography, and the role that it plays. So, yeah, I think, does that cover enough?
Can you tell us a bit the background and how you got into it?
Oh, okay. So, how I got into architectural photography, I was away from school briefly for a short period of time. So, and I've been exploring art to find out visual art. So, and I happened to get a camera at the time, and before then, I knew I wanted to be photographing, but I just wanted to focus on buildings at the time. So, and basically that was I started, and it seemed like I was getting good at it. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. For now, that was it. Can I have Olorunso Ifemade Omotayo, who is Ife_Made on Instagram? Please just put on your video, introduce yourself, tell us your background, and how you got into architectural photography.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shola. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that right. I don't know why.
All right. But okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Olorunso Omotayo. I have a background BTech architecture from Federal University of Technology, Akure. And it has actually been one of my main aim as I was growing up to actually go into photography, but I never knew what type of photography it would be. So when I was on my internship at HTL, I met with Jide Ayeni. Then from there, everything started evolving. And then I went for one open house event at the railway station at Yaba. Then I started taking pictures. Then I showed a guy that had a camera with him. Then he was like, wow, nice angles. Then from there, when I got back to the office, I was talking with Ayeni. He was giving me some tips. And then boom, I took up the task to actually be photographing buildings. And since then, it has been awesome. I think that.
Thank you very much. Wow. There's a bit of pride swelling up in me because from what you've just said, your coming into architectural photography was supported by your attending one of the very first, or maybe the second open house Lagos.
Yeah.
So maybe we have contributed to this.
Yeah, it's not a maybe, it's actually really the fact.
Great, good to know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we have Tolulope Sanusi, who is Ruby's Polaroid? So just tell us your background, how you got into architectural photography, and any other thing as a way of introduction.
Okay. Hi, afternoon, everyone. My name is Tolulope Sanusi, and I have a background in architecture. I was practicing for about 2 years before I decided to take up photography. I did it majorly as a hobby, but along the line, I actually started getting more interested in it as I was practicing, going to sites, and seeing the usefulness of taking photos, especially in documenting projects. So that's actually how it started. Through when I left school and started practicing architecture, the love of taking photographs actually started from there. And then it took off from there because I started taking photos of projects in my own office and then projects for colleagues, architects, interior designers. And then from there, it just grew to what it is right now, which is what I do fully right now.
Thank you very much, Lulu, aka Ruby Leroy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We'll have Ore Johnson, but I think right here, his name is written as Ore Owolabi. So you can just, maybe we call you Ore Johnson Owolabi, but anyway, your Instagram handle is OOJ_arts. So just introduce yourself, tell us how you got into architectural photography, your background, and whatever else by way of introduction. Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ore Owolabi. Sorry. Yeah, sorry for the mix-up as to the names. So, talking about architectural photography, I think I started up having to love architectural photography from the fact that I studied architecture. So it was easy for me to build, it was easy for the interest to build up because I had the knowledge of architecture, and then, when very easy to relate with whatever we're being taught. Just going outside, you can easily relate with the buildings. And so I got interest for architectural photography with the fact that, because of the fact that I studied architecture, so it was easy for me to just relate with the buildings. And then I always liked to just, document spaces, document your environment, take pictures of the environment, because it was interesting to see what you're being taught and then to see it play out and then to have it being preserved for a long time. So, but at the long run, I think it has evolved for me, because right now I think I have a big love for landscape, cityscape, and a lot of stuff too. So, but I know architectural photography is very wide. But right now I think it has really evolved for me. But that's how I started loving architectural photography. That's how I ventured into architectural photography. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ore. I think, I'll keep doing this where, if I end the first series of questions with you, I'll start the next set with you. So maybe you can just hold on, Ore. What I wanted to ask next was,
all right,
in your own, from your own perspective, well, just to say, first of all, I think that architectural photography helps to, commodify architecture, because it just makes it, serves it in sizable portions for people to be able to experience and maybe consume architecture aside from actually going there. And it also gives you, perspectives from where you typically wouldn't be able to see from, the human eye level. Like if, for example, the photographer uses, able to see the angles from like a bird's eye view. Nothing can give you that experience as a regular architectural consumer, would you say? So if you can, in your own words, tell me, how do you see the connection between what you do and what the architect does, in terms of designing a building? Generally speaking, you don't have to go into too many technical terms, but how do you think those two roles should influence each other or should relate with each other. So yeah, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I have an idea of what you're talking about. So for me, I think I would like to talk, or I'd like to answer this question in reference to, I think my bias for architectural photography. So right now, I don't know if you're familiar with the part of architectural photography I majorly put out. It's more of cityscape, it's more of landscape. Of course, I get to do interiors and every other aspect of photography, but I have got a little bias for, the cityscape, landscape, roadscape, how buildings connect with the city as a whole. So if I'm to answer your question in reference to that, I would say, as an architect, you probably, while you design, obviously you know about your environment, you know about where the structures that are in that particular environment. But from the aspect of architectural photography, it's easy to see the bigger picture. Like for me, I've had to shoot a particular space before, and then people saw the area view and they were like, they didn't know this and this were around this particular building, this particular space. Because from above, you really understand what I'm talking about. But the architectural photography that I get to put out, it gives you that wider view of the design the architect has done. As a whole, it gives you that wider view. It makes you understand how the design relates with the environment. Like, I'll give an example. I shot the National Theatre recently, and then it was someone that I didn't even know that angle. I would never have imagined that angle before shooting. I mean, when I set out to shoot, I know this is what I want to shoot. This is the structure I want to shoot. This is the space I want to shoot, but I don't know what it looks like. Do you understand? I don't know what it looks like in the bigger picture. But going to shoot it, I see that, okay, it connects with this brick. Okay, while they were designing this structure, did they actually have this particular structure was going to connect to this space? So architectural photography, as a whole, as a bigger picture, gives you that understanding of architecture, whether it's a structure, whether it's a building, whether it's a landscape design. It gives you that broader picture, that view that you probably would not see from your day-to-day moving around. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, if I were will I say repeat what you said in my own words, it kind of, expands the scope of how people enjoy buildings to a broader, I would say urban scale. Like you begin to see buildings relative to the other buildings around them, or relative to the hidden spaces that people wouldn't normally see, if they were to walk into the space or walk into the building, So, yeah, thank you very much for that. If we go the other direction now, Tolu Lope Sanusi, if please put on your video, or even if it's just your audio. I think we're having some break. How do you see relationship between what you do and what architects do? Yeah, even though you're right, how
Yes.
do you see?
What we do and what architects do, it's like it's intertwined. That's the best way I'll explain it. Because there's such a thing as designing, having theories, planning, going to site, and then there's something similar to documenting what you've created, which is giving it a second life. So it just doesn't exist in the physical anymore. Your drawings now have a more cemented, how will I put it now? Like you've now put your design into the archives of humanity, because really the photographs of buildings from 100 years ago are the only proof that we have that those buildings and those places existed, which is, aside from the great pyramids of Egypt and monumental structures, most regular buildings, they are destroyed after 50 years. A lot don't even make it up to 50 years before they are repurposed, redesigned, the original design is covered up. So taking photos puts a final form to your design. And it also makes it easy for people who haven't or who can't experience the space to see it and appreciate the design and the months and efforts and sweat you've gone through to bring that design that was in your head and the other people's heads into reality. So I believe it's very much intertwined, because you can design something, and then if you don't document it, when the building is either repurposed or redesigned, how would you be able to prove that there was actually a previous design except for photos, or if the drawings actually survive? So I believe they're very much intertwined.
Very much. What I got from that really is that your photographs do a better job of documenting the physical product of architecture than maybe doing drawings or whatever would, and it's kind of proof for future generations.
Yes.
And I would say that's something we're really lacking in Lagos, in Nigeria, in Africa. More pictures of what our ancestors built, because we need to learn from that. And those topics were touched on the previous session about the circular economy of building buildings in Lagos. Thanks a lot for that. Can I have Olajide Ayeni? Can you give me your own perspective of how you see the relationship between architecture and photography? Thanks.
The way I see it is the photograph is like a document, basically, that relates and that shows. So a drawing can be a document. So it's a representation of that building, and it shows, like Tolu said, like a proof of what has happened over time. And basically the photographs are really, really important, and it can also help people to understand different ways. It's also a form of representation. So representation can be in form of line drawings, it can be in form of photographs, it can be in 3-dimension forms, it could be in form of virtual reality, mixed reality. So basically it helps you to understand more of what is going on in that sense. And of course, it also helps in terms of commercial. It also it spreads into different forms. So I believe it helps people to understand, basically, the way I would see it, understand what's going on. And it also, because for drawings now, architectural drawings are more like I don't want to say jargon, but it's like a technical representation, and most people would not understand it. But photography helps like a layperson understand it better. So I would say the relationship that they have is it provides understanding as much as it is a document for a building.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I'm not sure I can add to what was very well said, or it was very just easy to understand. Again, I'll start from you for the next set of questions. And from statement you just made, if from your work, architectural photography, like you said, the sales marketer, if I would say, of the product of architecture, and you basically create how people experience outside of the building itself. What kind of advice could you come up with for architects, specifically in, or maybe we can expand this, as an architect and as somebody who's going to feedback from people who are not necessarily into art, but I've seen your photographs and make comments, feelings about space. If you were to be in the room and an architect was, what kind of thing you say, from the consumption perspective, what kind of advice architects?
Advice for them to make my work make my work easier, more convenient, better.
So it's a bit of both, because we can only cater to you, I guess. But how do you think? How can you advise architects make work that will be, of course, better buildings, but also, make better photographs, from your perspective?
I think if I were in a room of architects, and I'm sure I must have been in a room where they must have been having a conversation. So I think I was telling someone long ago that most people do not understand what architecture is about in the first place. So then to now add another thing that's called photography on top, it can bring confusion to an extent. So especially in Nigeria, and some people have said that the average citizen of architect, and of course, we've all had instances where architects perhaps don't see the need for someone that photographs buildings. And it's a cliche thing in our society where they say, it's not just picture, it's not just to go and snap it. So basically that understanding is not really there. So if I were in that space, I would try to make them understand as much as I can why it's important, the role they play together. And basically some architects do not really understand it. And for some who do not see the value in it. So, and we're also in a society where sometimes, or more often than not, documents are not really important. Say most documents have a lifespan of 10, 20 years. After 10, 15 years, we don't really consider it important. So perhaps maybe that's how they see it. They don't consider it to be that valuable. So for me, I would say, again, it's a really important document that can help people. So, and it's in as much, it can also help people appreciate their work better. And some architects in Nigeria are started trying to explore this and make their work more presentable, especially in the age of social media. So they also see it in that point of view, while some architects just see it as, move on, as a document. So it can also be a document, it can also have aesthetic value for them. And it's a very important document, and also has good aesthetic value that can also have commercial returns, say give or take a certain amount of time. So I think that's what I would try to explain to them as much as I can.
Thanks a lot. For Lorenzo Motayo, so again, if you were in a room and somebody was building a build or designing a building, and that you were going to take pictures of the building afterwards, what kind of input would you make into that process? What would you say? What would you advise?
Okay, thank you. Just like Yeni has rightly said, most architects in Nigeria don't really value the core purpose of photography. They just see it as, oh, it's not just photograph, just to take picture and just keep it somewhere or just put it anyhow. But me, I see it as a medium of conveying a message to people, to even people that are not even in the country, just for them to know that, okay, there's actually somebody somewhere that is doing something great. Even people outside the country can be able to see it and then know that, okay, there is really somebody here doing something nice. And sometimes it serves as a form of marketing skills. I'll just tell them, most our architects nowadays, they don't really care about the principles of designs again. Everybody just want to design buildings for everybody to live. but putting in some key design principles, it will be more easier for me to actually photograph some spaces in some dynamic ways. Yeah, let me say that, because even the same principle that applies to architecture, we have some of those principles in photography too, in which when you take those principles into when you bring them into play, when anybody is actually seeing the building or photographing the building, you the designer will actually look at it and be like, wow, so this can be so amazing like this. So putting in mind the principles of architecture and how things can actually be well coordinated, and the way the architect feel about a space can help architects and photographers to actually express more about the building to even people that are not around the building, or people that are not even close to where you are, that are going to be seeing the pictures. I think that's all to say.
Thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for that, Folorunsho. We'll now move on to Tolu. Tolu, can you give us your advice in terms of what you think architects need to do better, or what kind of input would you make if you were in the room, and building you were going to photograph is being designed?
The most important thing in architecture when you're designing is design for your users and design for your environment, for your users first. I think the documenting the project comes after the fact. Is the building going to be used long term? Is it going to serve just more than serve purpose, but also be some place that people enjoy going to? And then also, there's this thing I've noticed in Nigeria, well, from my experience, most times when people design a structure, the renders always look so wow and everything. They do the impossible, they do the materials, and they make it look like something you can see anywhere in the world. And then we get to site, and we have the Nigerian factor of things not always going to plan, and then the design ends up being a quarter of what it was. So when you see the renders, and then I go there and I take photos, it's never usually like the render. And then I think that's what a lot of architects have realized, which is why they don't take photos of all their projects. They take photos of the select projects that they liked and that the design was actually as close to reality as possible, because it's a bad look when you design a fabulous building and then you see the photos after and it's like A and Z. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of architects do not take photos. It's not like they don't understand, because people want to sell their properties, they want to sell their skills, they want to get new clients. But what I've experienced is the clients that do come to me, they usually have already rendered views they want to take photos of to show off. For projects that they're not happy with, they are not willing, which is, I would say 80% of projects. They're not willing to take photos because they don't want to be attached, so to speak, to those projects. But projects that they are proud of are the projects that they really want to take photos. So my advice would be let the render and the design be what is finally in reality. So let there be very little discrepancy about that, because that's like the most important thing. If it's not close to it and there's no good reason and it's just technicality, then it's a bad look. So that's like like two things. One, let the users enjoy the space, and two, try as much as possible to bring your design to reality. And let it not be so different, I would say, so that you can enjoy the project even after you're done with it.
Thanks a lot. That brings up a wide range of issues, construction methods, supervision, all kinds.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and well, I hope you're not going to make it bad for what you're saying. including yourself included. Um, um, let's go on to Ored Johnson. And just before Ored goes ahead, I'd like to announce that we now have Mr. Theophilus Emmanuel with us, who's ex-Modamo on Instagram. Thank you for joining us. I know you had to attend to a family emergency, but we're glad to have you. So maybe right after Ored, I'll ask you the question again. But essentially, it's just going on and talking about, what kind of input would you make if you were in a room where an architect was designing a building that you were going to photograph? What kind of advice would you give? What kind of comments would you make, or what would you want done, in that building to help make your work more fruitful, I would say, or maybe come up with better photographs. So, all right, you can go ahead, and right after you, Mr. Theophilus will answer that question as well.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so what I would say, first of all, is a good architectural photography is one that accurately depicts an architect's design, that is, be it a structure, be it buildings. So a very, very good architectural photography is one that accurately depicts whatever the architect has designed. So right beside me designing, first of all, I'll make sure that whatever he's doing, on the long run, there is room for maintenance, there's room for attention to details. Because one thing I've observed from experience is that when we design here, there's so much paying attention to details. You see a design on much of a different. As an architectural photographer, you're going to capture every one of those details. You want to, me, I always like to experience the space I'm shooting. I like to present those photographs as document on the long run, and then you can experience that space even without being in that space. So if I'm to document a space an architect has designed, I would want to, since we don't pay so much attention to details, it could be, let me give an example. It could be a case of maybe the skirting, or some walls are not accurately aligned, or maybe the tiles are not, you can just, as an architect, I can see those errors. Here looking at those, with my camera, I'm like, wow, this is a whole lot of work. But then, thanks to technology, you can actually do a lot in post-production. But if I were to be in a room with an architect, I would tell them to pay attention to those details, because if I'm to come to that your space that you designed, I would, if I'm someone that has an eye for detail, I'm going to see those errors. I'm going to see that, oh, this is what you have in rendering, this is what on paper, but it's not perfectly depicting it in as I'm seeing it in real life. Do you understand? And then I would also say maintenance in reference to, I talked about aerial photography, that's the landscaping, cityscape, maybe monumental buildings. So you see, yeah, I think we don't pay attention to maintaining these buildings. So you have this fantastic building, everyone knows about it. You want to photograph that building, but you go and you take the pictures, but you see a lot of, you see so much of things you don't like they've not paid attention to preserving that building. You see, they've not paid so much attention to preserving that building. You see the walls cracked and all, and these are meant to be like pictures that These are meant to be buildings that speak a lot of your space. Be it Lagos, say Lagos, Nigeria. If you're talking about Lagos now, we know there are many iconic buildings that make you, that once you see it, you know that this is Lagos State. Well, it's so bad that those buildings are not well. I'll bring up all this. Please make sure that there's room for maintenance of this building over the years, because sometimes the building, you want to take pictures of the building after renovations, and then you probably want to take some people. Buildings change actually over the years. They do a lot of renovation. And then you understand that you have to take pictures of it from time to time. I'm still going back to the fact that if they are not well maintained, it will be difficult to depict the exact state of that building. It will be difficult to depict the perfect or the accurate state of that building that the designer had in mind from time. So in the long run, as an architect, you might suffer from it, because I know that this building is meant to be finer than this, but seeing it in picture or seeing it real life, it's not encouraging. But thanks to technology, it makes it look different with post-production and all that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Seems everybody is telling off architects to make sure their buildings are better built. But you mentioned something when you were talking and about maintenance, and one can also say that there's a lot of that which is the responsibility of the client. But honestly, I think it's also possible for you to design buildings that are low maintenance in terms of resources, in terms of effort, buildings that are easy to maintain. So I'm sure there's some shared responsibility with architects, for architects, but I guess, that's why we're here and having these conversations. I'd like to hear what Theophilus have to say about that. Because, and before you go ahead to the question, maybe you can just give a brief background, of your background and how you got into architectural photography before you answer the question.
Okay, all right. Thank you all for having me on this platform. Once again, I apologize for arriving late to the party. It was sincerely forces beyond my control. But I'm glad everything is under control now, and everybody will be fine. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. So I'm Theophilus. How did I get into architectural photography specifically? Well, I'll say it was quite a bit of a circuitous journey. I studied computer science and economics in Ife back in the day. And as a child, I've always been involved in some creative or visual arts as a form of expressing myself. So after graduating, I did work in music a bit, and then I worked as a post-production, 3D animator, non-linear editor in a post-production company in Sulere, and then eventually went back to IT as webmaster, as Nigeria's premier internet service provider then. And part of my day-to-day task that was as webmaster, I was running the team of web developers, web design people, and along the line, we were getting clients who presented us with really horrible images. And I couldn't wrap my head around it, that you are building a digital storefront for the entire world to see. And these are the images you have to represent yourself. So at that time, a colleague then had a Sony Mavic that stored images on 3.5 inch floppy disks. I don't know how many people here know what that is, but that was the Sony Mavic. That's how I got started. And I found it more interesting actually taking pictures of places or people, and specifically the places, the buildings, more than developing website. And eventually I did take up a course of study with the New York Institute of Photography, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed taking pictures, and eventually I had to leave the company, and I was like, hey, I have the perfect excuse now to do what I always wanted, just taking pictures. And of course, at that time we did everything, portraits, weddings, everything. But I realized I really didn't have the emotional stamina or the highs and lows of weddings and the drama. Honestly, it was. And I just realized that one day I was talking with a bride. She was looking through my portfolio, and she pointed out something, that all my lines, all my verticals were always perpendicular to the size of the frame. And quite honestly, I didn't know that about myself. I just, my daughter says I probably suffer from a mild or some form of OCD. I enter a space and I can see lines that are not straight, and it makes me very uncomfortable. So she was like, "Oh, all your lines are waste." So I went back and I looked at all my pictures, and I can't take a photograph and it's not straight. I can't do it. So eventually I just moved on and on to architecture because I find it calming. I look at architects as incredibly creative people, because in the first place, they talk to clients and they're able to interpret somebody's idea into three-dimensional space from nothing. I think architects are really amazing people. I think they and musicians are up there in my mind, as they just create magic. Okay, so that's how I got into architectural photography. That was a bit of a ramble, forgive me.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say thank you very much for that. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of cool points from a lot of people. And just to say, it's good that we're having your perspective, because at least you're an outsider, who spend a lot of time doing other things, and then you just keep to this. So it's even good that you are now the one totally outside telling us. So if you were in a room, again, if you were in a room and somebody was about to design a building that you would later photograph, what kind of advice, what kind of input?
Now, to be quite honest, and I'm not being modest or anything, actually reminds me of this story of somebody that was supposed to write an essay about Jesus Christ in an exam, and because he didn't study that particular topic, he now said, "Okay, who am I to write about my Lord Jesus? I'd rather write about the Apostle Peter." And he wrote about the Apostle Peter, and of course, he flunked the test. Now, in my opinion, I don't think I'll be qualified to advise an architect. I mean, and I mean it seriously. Let me tell you why. What am I going to tell the architect? You guys design buildings and you have a picture of materials. Sometimes I ask myself, how do you know these materials that you are putting in this design even exist in the real world? Is it that you have a database where it's updated daily? Okay, so there's a new material. So I don't think really, as a photographer, I'm in a place to tell the architect what to do, because if I understand architecture properly, the architect is not just executing his or her own vision. The architect is interpreting the requirements of a client. So the design must follow, form must follow function, as you say. So I don't think the architect is in the best position to interpret the client's brief and create something that works. So that's my thinking.
I like how you said it. So, but maybe I should reorganize or rephrase the question.
Okay.
So the buildings you've enjoyed taking pictures of, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think you've had, good photography sessions with those buildings that others?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Why?
So I'm sure in your career you've had buildings that were easier to make good pictures of, and some weren't as easy, or some didn't turn out as nice as others. Why do you think the ones that you were able to get good products of, why do you think you were able to have that?
Okay. I think I'm just trying to run through my memory now. I don't think the output of the pictures really depended on what the architect did or didn't do, because the building is a reality, is on ground. I can't change it. Okay, so if I've had any difficulty, it won't really be about the architect or the design itself. It may be like Mr. Oluwabi said, the maintenance. I mean, if you're not fortunate enough to shoot the building when it's still brand spanking new, more often than not in Nigeria, you won't be able to get the best of that because, okay, so for instance, I grew up in the University of Ife. And anybody who's been to Ife knows Ife has really world-class architecture. So I grew up in the 70s, 80s, but going back then, my heart is broken because, I mean, you see little details like rails that were tubular, that were cylindrical, and then somebody made a new extension and it's a cube or I really can't understand that. So it won't be so much, the difficulty will be arising from the design. So maybe modifications that have been made or a poor maintenance of the structure really has been the most challenging part of taking pictures. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. I think what like I said earlier, you're giving us an outside-in perspective, not just telling us architectural jargon like the others. So it's very important, to hear what you have to say about that. So the next question I have is more in practical terms. And again, I'll start with you, Mr. Theophilus, because I'm going back the other way. Shooting in Lagos specifically, mega city, 20 million permanent residents. People say it swells to about 40 million and that range during the weekdays because people come in and go out. What challenges do you face shooting buildings in Lagos? I know maybe your expression seems like you have a long list, but if you could just summarize.
I'll keep it as brief as possible. So there are buildings that are photographed on my own, maybe just to build my portfolio or just for the fun of it. And then buildings that I was commissioned to photograph. Now, buildings that I was commissioned are a lot easier because there's somebody who is there as a producer who acts as a buffer between every other stakeholder, from security operatives or to overzealous security operatives to curious bystanders to agberos and the street boys and everything. So commission jobs for me are relatively easier because somebody is there to act as a buffer. I don't have to think of how to interact with police. Why do I have a tripod there? It's architectural photography. It's not a run and gun. I'm not snapping and running away. I'm going to set up a tripod. I'm going to be there trying to find the person. I'm going to be very visible. People will see me. It's not something I can do and run away. So many times people just go, hey, what are you doing? And I'll calm down. It's a building. I can't steal the building. It's a building. Everybody knows who owns the building. So, the challenge is really maybe, police have stopped me once or twice, but I'm taking a picture. This is it. And sometimes the people, they wonder, you're taking a picture of a building, they look at you. Don't you have better things to do with your time? I think only once have I been accosted by some street boys and they were going to push me over the bridge and people's skills have to come in to play then. So I think it's just managing people really. It's the other stuff, weather and lighting, there's nothing you can do about it. You go with the flow. So that's.
Thank you very much. All right, if you can take a stab at that question. What challenges do you have shooting in Lagos? Of course, I assume everyone will say, oh, people accost you, but I want to believe that there are other things, maybe not challenges, but what notable experiences do you have shooting in Lagos that you always experience everywhere? Ore Johnson, if you could take the floor and answer that question. Hi, Ore.
Okay. Shooting in Lagos can be very, very difficult. So first of all, I think naturally, yeah, I'm chill.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you already.
Okay, so I was saying that shooting in Lagos can be very, very difficult. First of all, okay. So first of all, I think people have challenges. I'll probably call it insecurity because they are scared of what you want to use your pictures, what you want to use the pictures of their jobs that you're not paid for. I'm making reference to those. Because, if you were to be shooting for a client, it's much easier. But I mean, generally, maybe you want to document, maybe he's wondering what you're doing. It's not the regular thing you see day to day. So they are wondering what you're doing. In fact, some people don't even know what, or take for example, you want to use a drone to shoot a particular structure. People are wondering some people don't even know what it is. I've had to be in a space before and then I almost got into trouble because the people around there didn't know what a drone was, and they were probably thinking I wanted to, I don't know, cause an harm. So I think it's very difficult because some people are not knowledgeable about architectural photography. They don't even know it exists. So it's a challenging part for us. It's a challenging part for me. Then another challenging part is the chaos. I feel like, I don't know if Lagos State was well planned out. I believe it's better than several other states, but I think one part I will also mention is the chaos. Sometimes you want to shoot, but you see that composition-wise, you are really not getting something out of it. I don't know if my fellow colleagues can relate with it. Electrical poles, buildings that are not maintained. You know, it's frustrating. I've had a colleague had his drone. He lost his drone because he got caught into some messy designed wires, electrical poles. It's very, very sad. It would have made a whole lot of sense if all this were planned out. I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying. So imagine you set out to shoot a particular space and then all you're seeing is not encouraging. It's not encouraging to the eyes. It's not even encouraging your camera. Your morale goes down because it makes sense if there were trees. It would have made sense if some trees were planted at this side, but all you see is probably refuse. All you see is probably just deaths. And then it's funny how you see all this even close to really, really interesting spaces, interesting designs that speak of the country or the states. It's funny how you see maybe a refuse dump just beside a monumental building. It's sad. I mean, it's very sad. So aside the fact that you have people disturbing you as to who you are, why you want to take pictures of this building, why are you with a camera? What is this in your hand? Is it a drone? Are you here to bomb us? Are you here to extract some information? Are you an undercover? Aside from this, I mean, I think also the chaos, not to speak bad of Lagos State, because I mean, in pictures, it's you can take pictures and it looks great because a lot of work have been done in post-production. Well, you see what you see in real life can be very, very discouraging. So I hope I've spoken well about it.
Thanks a lot for that, Ore. Thank you very much. Tolu Lope, Sanusi, what's your experience being like, shooting in Lagos?
Actually, I think my colleagues have said basically everything. Chaos, you have to have like 3 eyes on your head. You're looking at your property, you're looking at your environment, and you're looking out for anything that moves. Because Lagosians can attest to the fact that there are the road rules here are guidelines. People do as they see fit. even if where you are supposed to be a footpath, some guy with a truck, delivery truck, can come blazing through, disregarding everybody, and everybody's jumping left, right, like John James Bond. So it's the chaos, the environment is difficult. Like Theo said, once you are doing commission jobs, it's easier for you because they would have alerted any security around the area that you are taking photos. When they see you with the security attached to the project, it's easier than you don't need to disturb yourself attending to people that ask funny questions like, what are you doing? What did you come here to do? And all those. So I think the only thing I can add is the reason why, and one of the reasons why I do a lot of abstract photography, especially for architecture, you have to hide a lot of the reality, quote unquote, in Nigeria. You have beautiful structures right next to monstrosities. You have, imagine a recently completed project with, they just opened it, and then you see some funny, either kiosk, which is not their fault, kiosk, or people have turned the front of it into a bus stop. It's difficult to get candid photos of architecture without the chaos of Lagos creeping in. So that's why on my feed, a lot of people ask me why my art is so abstract. It's because I'm trying to remove all the distractions, which is a lot. It can be people, it can be trash, it can be anything. And then, of course, a lot of buildings here, if they are not brand spanking new, maintenance, it's very evident they are poorly maintained. So you actually have to do a lot of Photoshop work, quote unquote, to make it presentable to look at. So that's one of the challenges, is extra Photoshop work to make it look clean. And you need to be really creative because so many angles are either taken up by something, someone, or you can't even, because you can't stand and shoot in Lagos if it's not commissioned. You have to be creative in getting shots in Lagos, which is why I say photographers that work in Lagos that do street photography, they are trying, because it's you against everybody, and people don't like photos being taken. If they see you with a camera, they are coming for you, even if you can't see them. So yes, that's what I have to add to that.
Oh, you guys are making it sound very. I hope you are not going to scare new people that are looking to come into architectural photography.
But they should be aware
of
some things.
Well.
Yes.
Follow I want to assume you probably do some work in Akure as well, or other parts of Nigeria. So, maybe you can talk about the few times you shot in Lagos, or, other places as well, or what you typically experience,
Okay.
What challenges you experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Shola. Let me just share this. A friend of mine was actually beaten at Oshodi. He was with me, and he actually got slapped. That I anytime I'm doing street or something, anytime I'm to do something that is not commissioned in Lagos, I go around with my small point and shoot camera, Canon. So before you know anything, you will actually think I'm on my phone or something. So it's very small, but it has very high grade of resolution and very good output. And one of those things I've seen in Lagos again is most Lagos buildings, they don't have grains. Some people just do buildings, they just everywhere, concrete everywhere. Like there's no grain, no life to it at all. So as in there's no tree, especially when you now come to Lagos Island, you will not see one tree. You will just see houses being jam-packed together, high rise, like very close marking. I really find it difficult to actually take pictures of things like that. Even in Akure, sometimes in Akure, when you are photographing probably public space, you have to be extra careful because sometimes the taxi drivers, those people, the bosses moving, they actually don't care about you. All they want to do is just find their way out. So most of those things I actually have been challenging, and chaos in Lagos, as in, it's part of one of those things that I'm always careful of in Lagos. I'm very, very careful of it. Even Yenny can attest to that. That many times I will tell him, Yenny, put the camera down. Let's just use phone and just take what we want to take and just move. So I think the green aspects of the challenge, I think the architect should actually take that into consideration. Even if it is just little, it actually gives life to photographs more.
Thanks a lot for that. Jide, Olajide, your name. So it would be nice to also hear your perspective. As well.
I don't say a bit different from what everybody else said, but I'll try my best.
Sorry, I don't know if it's just me. Can you speak a bit louder?
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
So I said I don't know if I'll try and say it's slightly different from what has been said. So yeah, Lagos is chaotic and beautiful. That's just the truth. But I think every place has its rules. So you need to understand what rule works there. And the last time I went to Oshodi, I was going with a friend of mine that is and at first I was a bit hanky-panky, but there's no need to worry. Calm down. So understand how that space works. For me, I prefer working around because it's an education institution. So I understand that place very well because I've been there much longer. So people have talked about commission works, so that rule also works a bit different. Eyebrow, another set of.
Olajide, sorry, can you speak up a bit? Not sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hello?
There's some feedback. Can we all mute ourselves, please, from somebody else?
Sorry?
Can we all mute ourselves?
What about now? Can you hear me?
Okay, you can try again.
It's not clear.
Try to find what the problem is, but you can go ahead.
So I was just saying that it just depends on the rule of the area where you belong, where you are. So different rules work in different places. So understanding how to navigate that space helps, or it has helped me over time. I've come to learn. It can help me. So I'll just say sometimes I try to take advantages of certain spaces if I find myself, if I'm going to go and do something. Say, for instance, if I'm at a wedding or I'm photographing a wedding and I see a building, oh, this nice building. I will never get this opportunity again. So I quickly use it immediately on the spot. So and it also helps the images because, oh, okay, there's a nice building here, but there's a senator doing party. And so I try to, knowing how Lagos works. So for me recently, when I was coming to Calabar, a friend of mine, I kept asking like, is Calabar like, are they hostile there? And like, no, it's very chill. You don't need to worry. Well, I realized that if people are apprehensive to the camera, and a lecturer of mine used to say that the history that Africa has had with the camera is very, we've had it, should I say, with it. So basically, I just try to, so in Calabar, it's a bit calmer, but some people are still apprehensive to it. So basically just understanding how it works in that place, or sometimes in banks too, when I go to a bank. Banks are the one that is most annoying for me. Anytime I enter a bank and I see this place is nice, I always make sure I take a picture. And sometimes I get into trouble, I just try and explain myself. I delete it sometimes. Advantages. I call it safe zones. And sometimes I've been lucky because what helps most of the times in interaction, you need to be able to And I try to learn a lot from street photographers a lot because they are the ones that are always in the street. So any lesson I can pick up from some of them, he always helps me. So for instance, a construction project I was lucky to document, and I didn't have permission or access from the client. But going there over and over, I was able to build a relationship with the workers, the site guys that were on ground. So, and it helped me to break the barriers with time. So it tends to take time, and it's not easy. So those are challenges, and I think that's how me have tried to. And sometimes new ones come, and I'm just confused. So yes, I hope you heard everything I said. Yeah.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to say, people should start getting ready their comments, questions. I think for the last, 10 minutes, because we have about 16 more minutes. For the last 10 minutes, we could take questions and answers. And, we want to shuffle between that and having, the photographers, at least those who can, right now, to share their screen, show one image that, they've been privileged to take, and kind of talk us through the process, the inspiration, how it came about, or what they like about the image. We had other questions planned, but we seem to have been doing a lot of talking for something that is visually, for a visual media, which is good, but it would be nice to end with that. And I think people can start sharing their pictures, their comments and questions. I have some people raising their hands already at me. And I think, if possible, let's now start again from you, Olajide. If you can share your screen and try to put up a picture. And while you do that, we'll take a comment from somebody who's raised their hand for some time now. Robert, I see Robert. I hope I don't get Robert Krasa. You have your hand raised. While Jide is sharing the screen, maybe you can make your comment, and then Jide will talk to us about that, and we'll try to run through all of our panelists trying to show their screen and take us through the process. So Robert, over to you.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. Hello from Austria, and I really liked the discussion you had before. I just have maybe 2 comments. I was doing street photography actually I'm an architect, and I was doing street photography in Lagos Island. And as everybody described, it's quite difficult there to do photography, but it's possible, And I think we should not look out for the beautiful buildings. It is also interesting to capture the urban failures, what's not good in Lagos and what it is car-centric, or like the development in Eco Atlantic, which is very interesting, which mistakes are done there in the urban planning, So I think all comments were about how to take pictures of beautiful buildings and that there are cables and dust and something. But I think the more interesting part is what is now the mistake in the urban development, so to improve it in the future, of course. So architecture photographer is not just taking a picture of a just finished house or building or complex, So, and the second comment I would like to make, when I was there, I was struggling finding local photographers. Yeah, I can make a team. I think let's say architectural photographers should work much more in teams. So if you go out in a team of 3 or 4, you don't have the safety issue anymore. And that I think we should do this much more.
Thank you very much, Robert. You made very salient points. I'm sure both our panelists and the audience, have taken in what you said. I like what you said about going out in teams, because I think it just gives you some, will I say, herd protection, herd security, where you have a group of people. So I think that's something to note for, our panelists and other people as well who are looking to become architectural photographers by themselves. I'll now go on to, okay, Olajide was just sharing his screen, but I think we just lost him. So I think I'll now go on to Mr. Olufemi Olaya, who's had his hand up as well. If you can share your comment. Sorry, Olajide, are you back? I mean, Olajide, are you back?
Yes, I am, but I can't share at this point in time right now.
Oh, so we'll sort that out, but Mr. Olaya, please go ahead with your question or comment. Then.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello,
okay,
sir.
Great. I have a comment and a question. I'll finish with a question. The comment is, the conversation has been really interesting. I'm also an architect and an architecture photographer based in the UK. And I've worked in Lagos a few times myself. But one thing I want to point out is Lagos is chaotic. Yes, I've experienced that myself too. But we can actually tell stories from that chaos as well. So, and our responsibility as photographers is to actually capture what exists and try to make something meaningful out of it. There's lots of societal issues that can be that you can create stories around. So that being said, my question now is around commissioned work. And this is to all the established architecture photographers. When you get commissioned work, knowing fully well that in an environment like Nigeria, most clients don't actually honor contracts. How do you deal with your contracts? And how do you sort out licensing rights and everything to benefit you as a photographer? I think that's my question.
Thank you very much, sir. Which of our panelists want to take a stab at that question before we go ahead to Olajide's screen? Anyone?
I would like to add to what he said. It's a very good question, and it's coming from a good place. But we need to understand that Nigeria and rule of law are not friends. What I mean by that is, even if you have rights as a photographer and you want to license your images for a stipulated amount of time, how do you not get bullied by a corporation with infinite amounts of money and it's just you and their team of 20 lawyers, which is usually the case for a very high level contract. The contract is not very easy to put your foot down when you're dealing with large businesses, which is where I'm sure he has his question is coming from. Two, the rule of law here is, as the city is chaotic, it favors those with infinite amounts of money and power. So even if you want to put your foot down, it's really difficult. You can try. You can send in your contract before they send theirs and use your people skills to make sure the contract is blended in the two contracts are blended in such a way that it benefits you and benefits them. But in a situation where you can't do that, what then do you suggest? You completely lose out on the job, which would be a lot of times, or you just bite the bullets and take the job, which is what usually happens. The industry doesn't even have a group that can defend its those people in it. Talk less of you, one person defending against the corporation. Yeah, I think that's
Wow.
that's basically how it's going right now.
So that has just highlighted the problem, you know, I think needs to be taken up. Maybe by a architectural photographers association or something, but that needs to be taken up. Or maybe by, the Institute of Architects, as well, because, there's a link there. But I think we should just quickly move on to Olajide's screen. If you could quickly take us through your thought process for that picture you had up. I don't know if you still have access to that now. Very quickly, as our time is running short, we have, I think, 5 minutes before we take any other comments. Okay.
If we can just, I think it's run away. Wait a second. Maybe we can just take another question.
Okay. I think I see Robert's hand up again. Or are there any other comments? Okay, Robert, you can quickly go ahead with your other comment.
Hello.
Hi.
I just want to say something in the end, because I'm gonna write it to the chat anyway, because I can't come to Lagos now because of the COVID. I would like to ask somebody to take some pictures for me. I will pay for it a little bit, yeah, of a building.
No problem, Robert. I think what you can do, send an email.
No, I will send it. I will write it to the chat. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can put down your email address.
Okay, and I will write my email address in, and then it's just one building. I need 1 or 2 shots. Yeah. Okay.
No problem.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Okay, so Olajide, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to zoom in or maybe tilt your screen or something. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said thought process about it, right?
Yeah, thought process. How did you come up with this idea? What did you have to do? Just to take us through, what you typically do, when you're taking a photograph.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's just a photograph of the University of Lagos Gate. So I think I'm always trying to be able to. I believe I'll get better with time to be able to spot what I believe can have historical importance in the future. So when I realized that they were going to change the design of the University Gate, and it was on that way around the time I was on, I tried to make sure I could document as much of it as I could. So basically, I tried to get access, and I kept going over and over. And I think they were concluding the column of the first part of the tower. So I really like when the image shows like the environment, what the environment looks like. We've said that Lagos is chaotic, and it's also beautiful as well. So that shows life around people, Okadas. So I really like showing life, the hustle and bustle, and the up and down of everything that happens. So for me, that was my process, trying to enter in between where people are, where there's action, or sometimes, if I'm lucky, chaos. So basically that would be it, trying to enter people's personal bubble spaces. And especially if you've ever established some level of trust or momentary trust, and make sure I'm focusing on this subject and include other things in the background. So basically, that was just it for this GATE, University GATE.
Thanks a lot for that, Olajide. I really like how you've made a frame with people's silhouettes and the surrounding, and you can just see it's the actual subject in the background. I don't know if you can still have Tolu Lope. Okay, sorry, Ore Owolabi quickly. We have, I think, 1 more minute. So, Ore, I think if you can share your screen. I think you have to, okay, thank you very much. And right after him, we'll have Tolu Lope, because she also takes up a masterclass right after this. So that would be a nice way to lead into that. All right, one image. Thank you.
All right, so this particular image, I don't know, can you see the image on my screen?
We can see many images actually.
Oh, many.
Yeah, like a folder.
Okay, I thought I selected one already.
Okay.
Okay, is one selected?
Yes.
I can. Okay. Okay, there's this particular image selected. I don't know if you can. Is everyone seeing the image on my screen?
It's not enlarged, but we can see you clicking on it. Do you want to make it?
You have to go to share again, like screen share, and then select the other folder,
View.
because it opened a new folder. So you have to select this folder where the big image is open. Okay.
Okay, get
You
that.
Yeah. You have to select what shows.
So is that fine?
No, not yet. Okay, can you just go? Okay, yeah, finally, we have it now.
Okay. Okay. So this particular image here is okay. What I had in mind while I shot this image was I wanted to depict the state or how Lagos, a practical way Lagos is on a busy day. So the reason why I went ahead with this location was, first off, this location is one of the busiest places in Lagos. You have most commercial buildings and companies situated here. And then this particular road is a major bridge that connects the island to the mainland, if you're familiar with Lagos State. So I had in mind to capture the way the road looks like on a very busy evening, everyone trying to move from their offices, home, and all that, having to sort themselves out just after a busy day. So in my frame, if you can see on the right hand side, you can find high-rise, which depicts like the companies, different companies and buildings that people must have spent their whole day in. And then just by the left hand side, you can see the road jam-packed, no order, no everyone is just a bottleneck, everyone just trying to find their way out. And then there's a critical part of this image that really means a lot to me. That's at the extreme left. At the extreme left, you have the unfinished railway. So I took this picture with so much optimism that someday there will be the railway as an option of transportation. Instead of having the middle jam-packed with so much cars without, there's really no specific lane as to how you move. Everyone is just driving recklessly. So my optimism is that someday the railway, which I don't know if you can see the columns. There are some columns just in front of each other, stacked up in front of each other. They are just unfinished designs of the railway, my optimism is that someday they will be finished, and then this picture will be more of a before and an after. And then I believe it's be a good story to tell later on. Yeah, I hope this picture tells.
Thanks a lot, Orolua. What I really like about it is I see so much light. Considering our bad reputation with power supply, it's nice to see a well-lit picture of Lagos at night. We can see Apapa on the other side of the water, on the left-hand side. Lagos Island itself, with all the density, has some nice lights in it. You know, all the roads are well lit. And yeah, the promise of the railway line, you know, is also something to look forward to. So thank you very, very much for this, Orolua. In kind of handing over and closing this session, I would like to ask Tolulope Sanusi to put up her own screen and share a picture that she'll, you know, talk us through her process and what she likes about the image and whatnot. And that will be, you know, and that will be a way for me to also hand over to her to carry on her master class right afterwards. She'll be teaching us on a thing, using your phone to capture amazing images. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've learned something, or, you know, I hope you've had a good time joining us today. I'll now hand over